Petra, originally known to its inhabitants as Raqmu, is a historic and archaeological city in southern Jordan. Famous for its rock-cut architecture and water conduit systems, Petra is also called the Rose City because of the color of the sandstone from which it is carved. The city is one of the new 7 wonders of the world and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The area around Petra has been inhabited from as early as 7000 BC, and was settled by the Nabataeans, a nomadic Arab people, in the 4th century BC. Petra would later become the capital city of the Nabataean kingdom in the 2nd century BC. The Nabataeans invested in Petra's proximity to the incense trade routes by establishing it as a major regional trading hub, which gained them considerable revenue. Unlike their enemies, the Nabataeans were accustomed to living in the barren deserts and thus were able to defend their kingdom. They were particularly skillful in agriculture, stone carving, and rainwater harvesting. Petra flourished in the 1st century AD, when its Al-Khazna structure, possibly the mausoleum of Nabataean king Aretas IV, was constructed, and its population peaked at an estimated 20,000 inhabitants. Nabatea fell to the Romans in 106 AD, who annexed and renamed it as Arabia Petraea. Petra's importance declined as sea trade routes emerged, and after an earthquake in 363 destroyed many structures. In the Byzantine era, several Christian churches were built, but the city continued to decline and, by the early Islamic era, it was abandoned except for a handful of nomads. It remained unknown to the Western world until 1812, when Swiss traveler Johann Ludwig Burckhardt rediscovered it. UNESCO has described Petra as one of the most precious cultural properties of man's cultural heritage. Petra is a symbol of Jordan, as well as Jordan's most visited tourist attraction. Visitor numbers reach close to 1 million tourists every year. The Iron Age lasted between 1200 and 600 BC. In that time, the Petra area was occupied by the Edomites. The configuration of mountains in Petra allowed for a reservoir of water for the Edomites. This made Petra a stopping ground for merchants, making it an outstanding area for trade. Things that were traded here included wines, olive oil, and wood. Initially, the Edomites were accompanied by nomads who eventually left, but the Edomites stayed and made their mark on Petra before the emergence of the Nabataeans. It is said that 10,000 men were thrown off of the mountain el-Biara, but this story has been debated by scholars. The Edomite site excavated at the top of the el-Biara mountain at Petra was established no earlier than the 7th century BC. In AD 106, when Cornelius Palma was governor of Syria, the part of Arabia under the rule of Petra was absorbed into the Roman Empire as part of Arabia Petraea, and Petra became its capital. The native dynasty came to an end, but the city continued to flourish under Roman rule. It was around this time that the Petra-Roman road was built. A century later, in the time of Alexander Severus, when the city was at the height of its splendor, the issue of coinage came to an end. There was no more building of sumptuous tombs, owing apparently to some sudden catastrophe, such as an invasion by the Neo-Persian power under the Sassanid Empire. Pliny the Elder and other writers identify Petra as the capital of the Nabataean kingdom and the center of their caravan trade. Enclosed by towering rocks and watered by a perennial stream, Petra not only possessed the advantages of a fortress, but controlled the main commercial routes which passed through it to Gaza in the west, to Basra and Damascus in the north, to Aqaba and Lus Qum on the Red Sea, and across the desert to the Persian Gulf. Petra appeared in an episode of Time Scanners, made for National Geographic, where 6 ancient structures were laser scanned, with the results built into 3D models. Examining the model of Petra revealed insights into how the structure was built.